Young Junk!
Hey, welcome to the Micheaux Mission, 2 men, 1 podcast, every black film ever made. My name is Len, a.k.a. the Bat Tribble. And as always, I am joined by my partner.
Hey, this is Vincent Williams.
Tonight, folks, we are journeying back to 1980.
1980.
To review a film directed by Sidney Poitier and starring 2 genuine comic legends, Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor, in Stir Crazy. Vincent's selection for this stop on the Micheaux Mission. We will also do a top 5 of the black comedy teams.
Okay.
As well as play some 6 Degrees of Derville Martin. And, of course, we will hear from you in our missives from the missionaries. But first, we welcome you, all of you who are watching us as we stream live from Young Junk, Philadelphia's premier video podcast palace, to Instagram or to YouTube, where each and every one of you are out there in the chat. Hello, missionaries.
Good evening, one and all.
How are you doing, Vincent?
I am fine. It's a good day. We have to acknowledge the passing of Nikki Giovanni.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Nikki Giovanni, who passed away just yesterday.
Yeah.
At the young age of 81. Noted poet, author, educator,
Social critic,
activist, famously has a tattoo of Thug Life on her one tattoo in honor of Tupac Shakur. Where are you with Nikki Giovanni?
one of my favorite poets of all time. Like actually one of the poets that made me like poetry. Like I remember being introduced to her honestly in college. Like I didn't grow up knowing anything about. And it was like a jolt of electricity, just hearing her. And today has been a great celebration with people reminding me of all the poems. And then my personal connection, this is the part where my daughter rolls her eyes. You know, me and Wendy met in college. We worked together. Yes. But then when we met back up and started dating, it was at a Nikki Giovanni poetry reading.
Get out of here.
That is the truth.
Really?
That is the truth. So
wow.
She brought together love.
Oh.
I know. My daughter's like, you all are ridiculous.
Why? That's a sweet story.
I know.
Why was
she's like, it's so on brand.
That you have a sweet story, a meet cute
that the
like
two
that?
of us met at Nikki Giovanni poetry reading. But yeah.
That is very you.
I know.
Can't
make it up.
She's got a point.
It's 100% the truth. It was a reading for the collected poetry of Nikki Giovanni, and we both have our autographed copies from that night that we have displayed in the house.
Oh, wow.
You've walked past it a million times. You didn't even notice it.
I did not.
Like, you didn't notice it was 2 copies. It's 2 copies sitting there.
Oh, and they're touching together. Oh, my gosh. That's it.
It's the truth. So, Nikki Giovanni.
When 2 are in love. That's so sweet, man.
Yeah.
It was very interesting that we actually on Push Black, our episode of Black History Year that went up, that's available on wherever you find podcasts right now. It's actually talking about women artists, black women artists, and their cultural impact. And among the artists that we rep in that episode, Nikki Giovanni is one of them that we speak of very fondly. In fact, that episode of Black History Year features our host, Darren. He's talking about all of these iconic women with past Micheaux Mission guest Bobby Booker.
Nice.
And it's actually a very fun
I know it is.
Interview.
I know it is.
Bobby... Bobby is no short of a woman. Has no short of opinions.
No.
But it's a great interview. So I invite you to all to look for Black History Year wherever you find podcasts and download that most recent episode. It's a very good episode. All right. Yeah, but our condolences to the family and friends of Nikki Giovanni.
Yeah.
On the passing. That's definitely a loss for the world felt today. I also wanted to point out, just switching gears a little bit before we get into the show, that this weekend, for reasons unrelated to the show, I had to renew my subscription to Paramount Plus.
Okay.
Right? And I had let it go for a minute. I was like, I finished watching Discovery.
I was about to say it's in the middle of seasons. And,
yeah, like but I had to renew it. And in renewing it, I discovered that Star Trek Lower Deck, 5th season.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Is out. Which, if I remember correctly, I think it's supposed to be the final.
I think this is the last season.
The final season. So I was like, oh, man, I got to watch that. Now I got to watch Star Trek Lower Decks. So I binged.
So you've never watched it at all?
No, I have watched the episode, but I hadn't watched the 5th season.
Okay, all right.
Because
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
So I watched the 5th season, which I think is it's up to like episode 8. So I think there may be 2 more.
Yeah, I haven't started. Quietly haven't finished the 4th season, but go ahead.
Oh,
So.
well, it picked up where it left off. And it's good.
I mean,
and considering that this is the last season, they actually introducing more characters.
I mean, look,
I'm enjoying it, man.
Lower Decks is a top tier Star Trek show.
It is.
Like, don't let the animation and the jokey jokes fool you.
No,
Yeah.
it is 100% Star Trek. Speaking of Star Trek, I am going to be starting this Thursday. It actually starts. I'm going to be starting a rewatch.
Okay.
Of all the Star Treks.
All of them.
All of them.
Okay.
In order.
Okay.
And I reached out to Instagram for suggestions of what order I should watch them in. I reached out specifically to our friend George Carmona, who is a huge Star Trek fan. And he suggested the order in which I watch the shows.
Okay.
So he suggested that I watch Enterprise, Star Trek Enterprise.
Okay.
Then, if I remember correctly, he suggested then watching Discovery.
Okay.
Then the original series, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, and then I guess it would be...
I mean, you're not going to fit Strange New Worlds in between Discovery
no, that's
and the
what
OG?
it was. That's what it was.
Oh.
That's what it was. It was Enterprise, Strange New World. That's what it was.
Okay.
It was Enterprise, Strange New World, then Discovery, Next Generation.
Now, Discovery should be before Strange New Worlds.
Why should Discovery be? Oh, because of the first season.
Right, because I think you're doing it chronologically,
I'm
aren't
trying to
you?
do it. Well, this is the order he suggested.
Right.
This is the order he suggested.
Then I know he told you this and you just got it mixed up.
Maybe I've got it written.
Yeah.
down. You know,
Because I know George had it straight.
well, wait a minute. I'm going to look it up because I did write it down just in case, because I know I was going to. I thought I remembered it, but I'm looking it up. I have it here. The Star Trek recipe. All right. So he says Enterprise, Strange New Worlds. See, I was wrong. I was right. Enterprise, Strange New Worlds, the original series, Next Generation, DS9, Voyager, then Discovery.
Discovery at the end. So Discovery.
But I think the reason I think his thinking is because while Discovery does technically that first season, or maybe I guess the first 2 seasons are before the original series,
it lands. In the far
ahead
future.
of all of them.
Okay. All right.
So that's that. So I think that's his reason.
All right.
So that is his recipe. That is the Star Trek recipe. Do you agree with that recipe?
Sure. I think Enterprise is going to be tough, but go ahead.
Well, the Enterprise only gets tough on the last season.
Is that what we're going with?
I mean, it's not
Is
bad.
that what we've decided?
It's not bad.
All right.
I mean, is it the...
Hey, report back to the class. Let us know.
Let me ask you.
Yes.
From your memory,
Yes.
is Star Trek Enterprise that much worse than the original series?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
I don't know. I don't know. I like Scott Bakula.
I'm not good doesn't like Scott Bakula, but certainly Quantum Leap is playing somewhere. Like, certainly Quantum Leap is somewhere. You said I like Scott Bakula. Everybody likes Scott Bakula.
Well, maybe not everybody. You don't know. Anyway.
All right.
That's my recipe.
All right. Sounds like a good time.
I'm looking forward to it.
All right.
Even if you aren't.
I didn't say I wasn't looking forward to it. Do your thing.
Okay. All right. Let's get into the show.
All right.
Beginning with your emails, or as we like to call them,
missives from the missionaries. So what else is going on, Len?
We have emails, Vincent.
Ooh, missives from the missionaries. Ooh. Ooh. Ooh, missives from the missionaries.
Missives from the missionaries. We have emails, Vincent, and we are starting with someone who I have actually spied sitting there in the chat. So, hello, Lisa Alexander.
Hey, what's going on, Lisa?
A correction and a suggestion.
What we mess up?
Oh, you know what? Stick a pin in that.
Okay.
About messing up.
Okay.
I've got a correction. I've got a note.
Okay.
After the emails. Good evening, gentlemen and fellow missionaries. I hope everyone is doing well, embracing for the fun and excitement that will be 2025. After watching your Osmosis Jones episode, I noticed a small error.
Okay. All right.
Michael Lockett sent a missive asking which Black Star Trek guest star was your favorite. Mm-hmm. The consensus was Moses Gunn portrayal of Joseph Sisko. Unfortunately, Moses Gunn did not portray Joseph Sisko.
Didn't.
That
That's
honor went
Brock
to the
Peters.
late, great Brock Peters,
Yeah.
who also portrayed the duplicitous Admiral Cartwright in Star Trek VI.
That was probably me. I mix them up all the time.
Must have been a distant ancestor.
Yeah.
For your information, and I think this is directed towards Len, Stacey Abrams is a huge Trekkie.
Okay.
And I personally love seeing her on Discovery. Even though we couldn't elect a black woman as POTUS, Star Trek has a black woman as president of Earth. It was a nice middle finger to the racists who clearly don't understand what Trek has always been about.
That's right.
I would also like to add a film to your watch list, if it's not already there. Muslim, directed by Detroit's own Qasim Basir, and starring Evan Ross, Nia Long, Roger Gouverneur Smith, Danny Glover, and friend of the show, Dorian Missick. Mm-hmm. It tells the story of a young man who, due to his childhood trauma, turns his back on Islam. After entering college, he tries to figure out who he is, but must contend with Islamophobia as 9/11 unfolds around him. It's an interesting film, and I would be interested to hear what you think of it. Have a safe holiday season, Lisa Alexander.
Thank you, Lisa. Have you seen Muslim?
No, I've heard
It's not bad.
I've not seen it.
Yeah, she's 100% right. It's an interesting little movie.
Okay.
I'd forgotten about it, but yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I actually was, it's funny to read this email and then see Lisa in the chat because I actually was looking at episodes to pull since we're going to start replaying episodes from some of our older episodes. And I was looking at the episode that Lisa actually was with George Corona.
Oh, okay.
On the show, which reminded me that we're overdue to have them both back on the show.
We are.
So look for an invitation coming your way.
Yes, and like I said, I mix up Brock Peters and Moses Gunn all the time.
Yes, it was you. All right, we have
Brock Peters was in Cleopatra. See, I'm messing up again. In Carmen Jones. Mm-hmm. Moses Gunn played Carl on Good Times.
I knew you were going to go to Good Times because you couldn't come out with a movie. I said he's going to go to Good Times.
Moses Gunn was also in Amazing Grace. Is that Moses Gunn? With Rosalind Cash?
Let's say it was.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. We got another email.
All right.
This is Michael Sykes.
Hey, Michael.
The colors in cheesesteaks.
Okay. All right.
Hello, Len and Vincent. I wanted to know, will y'all ever review the 1988 movie Colors, starring Sean Penn, Robert Duvall, and Don Cheadle? That's a stretch saying it stars Don Cheadle. And do y'all consider that a black film with many black actors in it, like Cheadle, Leon, Damon Wayans, and more? I've come close to pulling that trigger.
It's been long listed with me.
Yeah.
Because I can't quite pull it's sort of like The King of New York, where it's like it's all these black people in it, but they're not really the main characters.
Yeah, but The King of New York, they weren't really the main. I guess they were more germane to the plot.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
I remember liking Colors a lot.
You know what? I can't say I remember liking it. I don't know if I liked it a lot. I haven't seen it since then. I don't know. Damon, your brother, is sending this up in the chat. It says, "Come on, Vince. Moses Gunn is bumpy in the Shaft movies." That's yeah, Vincent. You got no excuse.
It's
man.
Brock Peters and Moses Gunn. It's them flared nostrils. They just throw me off.
What are they? The white women, the black men? It's like what are you saying?
I do. It's a very specific glitch. I mix up Moses Gunn.
I mix up Moses Gunn and Jennifer Aniston all the time.
Moses Gunn and Brock Peters, boy. Boy, it's a 50-50 chance I'm going to get that right.
Wasn't that Moses Gunn and Ordinary People? That was Mary Tyler Moore.
Oh boy. He sure is bumpy.
Michael Sykes continues. Also, I'm not from Philly, so I really want to know, what are your thoughts on Pats and Gino?
Oh, no.
Oh, wow.
Oh, no.
Oh, my God.
Is he messing with us?
I'm going to continue his
He's
email.
clearly messing with us.
Many people, by the way, many people eat fries with their cheesesteak. There are many restaurants I can name where I'm from that serve combo meal cheesesteaks, and they have good reviews. I can name restaurants like the Cheesesteak Shop, Mills Hoagie, and Deli IPs, and more. Maybe it's just a Philly thing to y'all, but I call cap on Vincent saying we're crazy eating fries with them. Here's the reviews for the places below. Love, your fan, Michael Sykes. First of all, Michael, you said that you're not from Philly.
I was about to say.
So we don't give a fuck about your opinion.
I'm gonna let the Philly native. As soon as he said he wasn't from Philly and he had a whole lot to say, I said, okay, I'm gonna just sit back and let the Philadelphia native.
We don't give a fuck about your opinion about cheesesteaks. I don't care that wherever you from. First of all, any place that calls themselves the Cheesesteak Shop, bruh.
Look at us. We have cheesesteaks. All the cheesesteaks you want.
At the Cheesesteak Shop.
Here at the Cheesesteak Shop on the corner of Cheese Avenue and Steak Street.
Bruh. Pump your brakes, son.
So you should probably go ahead and segue into your thoughts on Pats and Geno's.
And
Philadelphia native.
Yeah. And Pats and Geno's, look. If I'm going to give grace that if you live in South Philly and you live around Pats and Geno's, and because those shops are open very late, almost every day, that becomes your local cheesesteak that you eat.
I don't even believe that.
And well, but for some, I'm going to give grace to those people.
Are you serious?
No, I'm going to give grace to people like if you live next door and you want to go, you just want something to eat, and you go next door to Pat's and Geno's, you get a cheesesteak, and that sustains you. Okay, all right, but so I'm gonna give you grace on that. But as far as a good cheesesteak, a proper cheesesteak from Philly that is truly dipped in the tradition of Philly, not the hype of Philly, don't nobody really mess with Pat's and Geno's. That's mostly a tourist trap or the hype. Or, like I said, I'll give grace to you if you local or if your son or daughter work at Geno's and they bringing home cheesesteak, bring home dinner. But anybody else, no. They will go to D'Alessandro's. They will go to Max's. They will go to Chubby's. You know what you notice from all of those spots? Cheesesteaks ain't in the name of the spot.
Come to the cheesesteak shop.
Because
now with more cheesesteaks.
And couple of them places don't have fries. Because you don't need fries with your cheesesteaks. I'm not hating on people that eat fries with their
proper
cheesesteak.
cheesesteak.
But with a proper cheesesteak, you don't really need fries.
No.
If you want them, God bless you. I'm not hating on you. Sure. Vincent thinks you're a psychopath.
I do.
I don't think you're a psychopath.
Questions.
I just think you're being needlessly greedy.
I was supposed to say, it's a lot of calories.
Because that's a lot of calories, son. Because a proper cheesesteak, a proper cheesesteak is 2 days worth of food. Yeah. That's a meal and leftovers on a proper cheesesteak.
I will say this, Pat's and Geno's is a wonderful place to go if you want to see somebody from New Jersey.
But you're right. You're 100% right. Or some Europeans coming into Philly. I think they take bus trips down to Pat's and Geno's.
Like if I was doing something sketchy in Philly that I didn't want my Philly people to know about, I'd go to Pat's and Geno's.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Exactly. So there you go. And I don't want to check out your reviews of your spots. I don't care what the Yelp people where you live think of the cheesesteak shop and Mills Hoagie. That's another thing. We don't have hoagie. Mike.
Thank you, Michael.
Mike, you on timeout. Mike. We're not reading your emails for the rest of the year. All right. We'll see you in January. All right.
Or next week.
All right. I deleted that one. All right. Let's see what Michael Lockett's got to talk about. All right.
Michael Lockett.
Our favorite Michael. The subject line is Blazing Saddles fit defiant ones' asses to a T.
Okay.
What's up, my brothers? I wish you a joyous holiday season to you and all the people you love and those you tolerate. I could not have been happier with the choice of Blazing Saddles. I have loved this film ever since I first saw it with my mom, and for days we would walk through the house saying, "The sheriff is a bing bang." Mel's Blazing Saddles is one of the few comedies that still holds up even with its problematic areas on full display because it was done with insight and care, probably due in part to Richard Pryor. The Black and Jewish relationship in this country is so incredibly intertwined in both good and bad ways. I really cherish that there are Mel Brookses to balance out some other folks. In my opinion, Brooks ain't getting a cookout invite, but he might be able to get a plate dropped off. I'm a culture gatekeeper like a MFer, but I have to think about it a little. On my time travels, I couldn't have landed on a better pairing for Blazing Saddles than the Defiant Ones.
Yeah.
I was digging in the crates and could not find an earlier film where the co-stars were black and white bona fide stars of their era like the Defiant Ones. I believe this film set the stage for Blazing Saddles along with Lethal Weapon, Running Scared, etc. I had a similar experience to Len with this film as I saw it young, and although I did not think it was a comedy, I did not realize how heavy it was. Seeing it as a teen and then as a 30-something, they were all different experiences. Each time it got better and better. All the kudos for this, I think, belong to Stanley Kramer. My man has skills, but he's still not invited to a cookout. Spending time with Poitier and Pryor, I started to wonder if Richard could pull off any of Sidney's roles. Pryor never really got a chance to show his full range, in my opinion. His truth-telling stand-up many times was so blunt and honest that it touched people in dramatic ways while they laughed and thought. I'm not talking about him being a counterweight to Bill Cosby in those 3 flicks, but could Richard Pryor pull off a will-be conspiracy type role, or maybe even a Lilies of the Field? What say ye? All the best, Michael Lockett. Well, that's a good email, Michael. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Thank you for showing how emails should be written, Michael.
I think that's a great thought experiment.
Richard Pryor?
About Richard Pryor, and I'm going to give my answer, and I'm going to assume this is Richard Pryor at his optimum. Mm-hmm. So I'm talking Which Way Is Up, blue collar, Richard Pryor. I think there would be a version of Lilies in the Field that could be interesting with him. Because I think and we'll talk about this tonight, obviously. I think at his best, there's a sweetness with Richard Pryor. Like there's this real vulnerability and humanity when he's at his best that I think is at the center of a film that we haven't done, mainly because I think I've been holding off on it because I love it so much. Like I love Lilies of the Field. Like I think it's such a sweet movie. I also think the dynamic would be a little different because I think the coolness of Sidney Poitier is what kind of makes To Sir with Love work. But optimum Richard Pryor might be interesting in this room full of kids.
Okay.
But those are the only 2 I can think of. Again, with the huge caveat, like I get to choose the Richard Pryor that's put in there. Like we just not pulling Richard Pryor willy-nilly and putting him in there. Like I get to choose which Richard Pryor is in this film.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see it. I don't see Richard in any of those roles. And I think it maybe is because even optimum Richard, I don't think. Never mind that he's not the actor that Sidney Poitier.
Oh, of course
not.
Of course not.
Yeah, of course not. But I honestly think that in the few roles or scenes where Richard Pryor has been asked to kind of like show like a little bit of coolness or smoothness or what have you, just maybe just be just straight human. I don't think he pulls it off. I think.
Oh, we loved Which Way. You loved him in Which Way Is Up.
I think he is. I think he's good in Which Way Is Up, but I think he still is very much still. He's still a character. I still don't believe him like when he is serious. I still don't 100% take him serious. So I don't see him. I see his dynamic especially into Sir with Love.
We haven't talked about Blue Collar. When's the last time you watched Blue Collar?
It's been a minute.
We're going to have to do Blue Collar sooner than later because I feel like that's the nice test.
Okay.
All right.
When I think of serious Richard Pryor, I see him in what's that?
Lady Sings
the Blues. And even then, it's very short. It's very quick.
Right, and he's he's a drug addict.
Yeah.
So he's by definition out of his mind.
Out of his mind, but he still is not. I don't think he's as over the top. Okay. Like to me, in Lady Sings the Blues is on the same speed that Eddie Murphy is in Dreamgirls.
Okay.
And I can't think of ever seeing Richard in that speed believably in anything else. Maybe Blue Collar. It's been a long time since I saw Blue Collar.
Right.
I thought that maybe he tries a little bit in Which Way Is Up. I think he tries a little bit in JoJo Dancer, but by then he's kind of like...
And I like him in Grease Lightning.
See, Grease Lightning is a movie I definitely haven't seen since I first saw it. So I would have to see that again. I do have to see that again. All right. But there you go, Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Michael.
We appreciate you. Thank you for your email. And I believe...
Thank you both, Michaels.
Oh, and we have one more email.
Even with your cheesesteak.
We only have one Michael. And this final email is from Corey P.
Hey, what's up, Corey?
The subject line is Video Music Box versus Yo MTV Raps. Good evening, Len, Vincent, and missionaries. I know I sent this email very late at night, but I do mean it with care. We know.
We do.
We know, Corey, because you know how to write emails. Got this.
Tough crowd. Tough crowd.
I enjoy the conversation about the distinctive voices in hip-hop from last week. I would add, rest in peace, DMX.
Of course.
Q-Tip.
Yeah.
My third favorite rapper of all time, Grand Poobah.
Oh, yeah.
And Slick Rick.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
I want to get your take on this question I'm about to ask.
Okay.
Which show best showcased hip-hop as in a representation of the genre in a way that was raw and authentic? Do you pick Video Music Box or Yo MTV Raps? Now, before you give your thoughts, Corey says, I am not sure if you both watched Video Music Box, but the host was Ralph McDaniels from Queens. His interview style was more street, basically going in the hood to talk up incoming artists like Nas, Wu-Tang, Biggie, Run DMC, etc. You cannot forget the shout-outs Ralph would do. Yo MTV Raps, in my opinion, was more commercialized as rap was slowly easing its way to the mainstream. Fab Five Freddy basically took Ralph McDaniels' approach at interviewing artists, but MTV was a bigger network at the time, something Ralph McDaniels did not have. Those two shows have been on my mind all week, so I thought I'd ask you both. Happy holidays from a missionary, Corey P. Were you a fan of Video Music Box?
I was. And yourself?
I watched it only fleetingly. We didn't like really get it like big time here in Philadelphia.
Right.
But
I mean, me either. Like I just saw.
But I discovered it.
Yeah, exactly. After the fact,
and watched it and enjoyed it. And it definitely had more of an edge to it than Yo MTV Raps. I mean, Yo MTV it was commercial. It's in the name. It's Yo MTV Raps. So it did get the bigger polish. I thought that Fab Five Freddy lended an air of authenticity.
100%.
So you couldn't knock that. So he was definitely there for the culture. I think, and it kind of stayed true because then after Fab, then you got Ed Love and Dr. Dre. And that was still very, and they gave it street cred.
Right.
To me. Well, Fab gave it street cred, but they gave it like, it was definitely a little bit more rougher around the edges. So I enjoyed them all. I enjoyed them both. I would have to say that my memory lands on Yo MTV just probably because I just had the access to it more than Video Music Box. But honestly, if I'm thinking about the shows that I found myself like enjoying more and like really wanting to find, I don't know if it was actually either of them. I think it may have been the show with I'm drawing a blank on her name. The person that got into Lisa, that got into,
D
that got into the
yeah, with that Dr. Dre assaulted.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm going to look up that
Yeah.
show. You talk about who you your thoughts on.
Look, I think Video Music Box was exactly what it was.
D. Barnes.
Yeah, D. Barnes.
Yeah.
And its strength and its weakness was the same thing. I think Ralph McDaniels had this decidedly New York-centric approach to discussing the art. And Yo MTV Raps, even with Fab Five Freddy, and I think Fab Five Freddy has always had this type of sensibility. Like when you think about him being the one who kind of connected downtown with uptown with all of the sort of the sort of graffiti artists and hip hop artists, and he really connected all of them with that downtown art world. I think Yo MTV Raps understood from the very beginning that this art form was bigger than New York.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, I'm going to land on Yo MTV Raps, even if my personal taste, like my personal tastes tend to stay with that boom bap, New York style MCing, kind of, you know, acknowledging Philly in there as well.
Mm-hmm.
And then even when we talked about it a little bit last week, like I find myself drawn to MCs regardless of where they're from, where I can tell they've studied Rakim.
Mm-hmm.
But hip hop is bigger than that.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to land on Yo MTV Raps.
The name of the show that D Barnes hosted was Pump It Up.
Yeah, Pump It Up. That's right.
Which ran from ran from 1989 to 1992,
Mm-hmm.
3 years. And I remembered the show, and I think the reason why I leaned on it was because it wasn't as polished as either of those shows.
No.
It was very much more like
her. It was like her thing.
like her deal.
It was almost like her
like
thing.
home video.
Yeah,
you know, like
yeah.
she was
Oh, yeah.
she would be in the studio, she'd be in the lab, she'd be in these guys' houses. Sometimes
Yeah.
she'd be on the front stoop interviewing them. So it felt more authentic.
Yeah.
Like you were actually in hip hop. And if I remember it, and looking here, I see here. I knew that she was young. She was only 19 when she was doing that. That's the show that I really was like must see television for me. It came on late night, if I remember. But it was must see television for me as far as getting like a real taste of real hip hop.
Right, right.
And I see somebody put Pump It Up in the chat. Thank you.
All right.
Very much.
All right.
All right. So shout out to D Barnes.
Always shout out to
Always
D Barnes.
shout out to D Barnes, because y'all know I don't mess with Dr. Dre.
Mm-hmm. Fair.
I don't. All right. So that's your emails. Thank you very much, folks. If you want to have your thoughts read aloud, just send us an email. Simple as that. At micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's MICHEAUX MISSION @gmail.com. All right. Now it is time for the top 5.
Top 5. Who's your top 5? My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top 5 is. My top.
Some theme music needs an intro.
Yes, okay. All right. Well, there you go. Well, that certainly was something that happened.
I'm in a good mood.
I'm glad.
I got on my red, black, and white.
Yes.
Anyway, top 5, where I come up with a list. I read it to Vincent, and he blesses all of us with his scintillating commentary.
Oh, yeah, scintillating.
On my list.
Yeah.
Keeping it in theme, Vincent, we are going to be reviewing tonight from 1980, a favorite of yours, and at one time a favorite of mine.
Sure.
And that would be Stir Crazy.
Stir Crazy.
Starring one Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor.
Yes.
A duo who would appear. This is the second of 4 films in which they appeared.
Yeah.
So that got me to thinking of the great black comedy teams.
Oh, okay. I like it.
Who are the great black comedy teams?
Okay.
Now, some caveats. Unlike Richard Pryor and Gene Wilder, the teams that I have selected are all black.
Both are right.
Both are black.
Yeah, okay.
Right? So that means that you will not see Chris Tucker and Jackie Chan
Sure.
in here. You will also not see Woody Harrelson and Wesley Snipes.
Yeah.
Represented in here.
Yeah.
Also, to be considered a great team, I felt that you had to have appeared together as a duo in at least 3 films
Okay.
together.
All right.
All right. So not just 1 and not just 2,
But 3.
but 3
Which, from what I understand, is the magic number. Yes, it is.
to make this list.
It's the magic number.
It is a magic number. So, which means that we will not see Martin Lawrence and Eddie Murphy represented because they actually only appear in 1 movie together. As far as a duo,
As a duo, right.
as a duo, and that would be Life.
Yeah.
Okay. Nor will we see, speaking of Chris Tucker, we will not see Chris Tucker and Ice Cube because they only really appear in 1 movie
It's true.
as a more or less duo.
It's true.
And that would be Friday.
Right. Okay.
So you won't see them.
Lot of people off the board.
It's knocking a lot of people off.
So who's left? Who we got?
All right. And I have these in order.
Okay.
In my order.
It's your list.
See if you agree with this order.
That's where the magic happens.
And number 5.
Number 5.
Now, first of all, a bit of a caveat.
Oh my God! All the caveats. Just read the list. You've got caveats and exceptions, and good Lord, it's like a list that a accountant put together.
You will see a graphic come up on the screen, ladies and gentlemen. It's going to say the top 5 Dylans. We just forgot to change that one part of the graphic, but the comedy teams will be listed there. I'm just letting you know so people know at home.
All right.
If they're watching at home.
All right.
Okay?
All right.
If you listen to the podcast, you won't care.
All right.
But
is there any other exception? Also, there'll be an alphabetical order. Also, they all have a shellfish allergy.
all right. Number 5.
Number 5.
And this one pains me.
Okay.
But I have to give credit where credit is due.
Always.
Because they appeared in not 1, well, they appeared in 4 movies together.
Okay.
And they had their own TV series.
Okay.
And that would be one Christopher Reed and Christopher Martin.
Yeah.
AKA Kid and Play.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
They appear. Now, this is what I didn't realize. Their cartoon series, the Kid and Play cartoon series, predates their movies.
I didn't know that.
I did not know that. I would have thought that House Party
was the launching pad.
was the
the
launching pad for them getting at least the cartoon series. But no, the cartoon series comes before House Party.
The documentary that I'm waiting to see is about Herbie Lovebug. Because he was the man behind him, the man behind Salt and Pepper, because he really was sort of a marketing.
Yes.
Like he kind of had his eye on all of that.
Did he have one other kind of like quasi good hit? I mean, those were his 2.
I mean, you know, I know like Sweet Tea is in that camp. I don't know if that's who you were thinking about. I don't think Kwame is in that camp.
No.
But it's like Salt and Pepper. It's Kid and Play. And then, like I said, I know Sweet Tea is in there.
Okay. Well, you're right. The Herbie Lovebug, that would be a good documentary.
Is that Dana Dane? Is Dana Dane?
He might be there.
Is Dana Dane under Herbie Lovebug?
He might be. Yeah.
Yeah.
The wannabe Slick Rick.
Yeah. Oh.
He was.
Ouch.
I mean, come on, let's call it what it is. He want to be Slick Rick, and there's only one Slick Rick. And you know it.
Dang, you don't like Cinderfella Dana Dane?
No. Do you?
You know, I thought Slick Rick was faking having a British accent.
Everybody did.
Because of Dana Dane.
Everybody did.
I just figured they were all pretending to be British.
No. That's why Dana Dane is fake.
All right.
It's the real deal.
But Kid and Play.
Kid and Play. Their movies were House Party, House Party 2, Class Act, and then House Party 3.
That's right.
You got to give them props. And the films, say what you want about their music, the films were relatively successful. I mean, Class Act was what it was.
And I think they're fairly entertaining. Like, I think you go from good, which is House Party, to the rest of them are fairly entertaining.
I don't know about House Party 3.
It's I've watched worse movies.
Okay.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's entertaining.
I said fairly entertaining, and Class Act is, all right.
Well, hey.
But all right, they're at 5.
They're at number 5.
I think that's a solid place.
Solid spot.
All right.
Right?
Okay.
Number 4. Mm-hmm. With 3 movies.
Okay.
Bill Cosby and Sidney Poitier.
I'm interested to see who you have above them.
They have Uptown Saturday Night, Let's Do It Again, A Piece of the Action.
That's right.
All fairly entertaining films. Uptown Saturday Night, certifiable classic. Let's Do It Again, close to that. A Piece of the Action
really is really.
It takes a really.
That's what dings them.
Yeah.
Like that's what dings them.
It's a really.
Yeah.
It's a nosedive.
It is.
Significant nosedive.
Yeah.
Just above them.
Okay.
At number 3.
Okay.
Okay. With 4 films.
Mm-hmm.
Ice Cube and Mike Epps, who appeared in Next Friday, All About the Benjamins, Friday After Next, and then The Janky Promoters.
Janky Promoters.
All those films, say what you want quality-wise, fairly successful, and some would say fairly entertaining.
Wow, this pains me that you've made me think about this. I think if I had to choose, I think I would. I actually really like Ice Cube and Mike Epps together. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
When they're at their strongest.
I mean, even at their weakest.
I didn't see Janky Promoters.
It's. Look, the way I'm thinking about these acts is, do I enjoy watching these two interact with each other? Like yes. Do they have chemistry?
Yes.
And they do. Like, I love watching Mike Epps and Ice Cube together. Mm-hmm. So
now, don't get me wrong. Would I have preferred for the Friday films to have Cube and Chris Tucker? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do I think that they had probably a better dynamic than Cube and Mike Epps? Absolutely.
See, I don't know if I agree with that.
Okay. Fair.
You know, like, I don't know if Next Friday with Chris Tucker in that mode that he's in would have worked again.
See, I think it would have, because I think that Next Friday would have been Cube and Chris Tucker, their characters, Craig and Smokey, kind of settling, because it probably wouldn't have been the same story.
Okay, go ahead.
And I think they probably would have been a little more settled. I especially think that Chris Tucker would have been a little bit more settled.
But then he's not Chris Tucker.
No, I think he still would be Chris Tucker, but he could still be a little bit more settled.
I think Chris Tucker at his most settled is the Jackie Chan movies.
No.
What film was he more settled than that? I mean, unless you're going to do like Dead Presidents.
Well, that's what I'm going to say, Dead Presidents.
Okay, but then it's not a comedy.
Well, he's funny in it, though. He's got some moments in the movie. But he definitely is on his getting his acting.
I think the thing about Ice Cube and Mike Epps is that Ice Cube can be goofy with Mike Epps, and they're just goofy together, like in Next Friday and Friday. But then I think Ice Cube can also kind of be a straight man, like he is in what's the third movie?
Friday After Next.
No, not Friday After Next.
All About the Benjamins.
All About the Benjamins. And I don't know if he can do both of those moves. Like, I don't know if Ice Cube,
straight man with Chris Tucker.
Right, but I don't know if he can be goofy with Chris Tucker.
Oh, I think he was goofy enough. I think actually he is turning it on a little bit in Next Friday because of the absence of Chris Tucker.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. That's why. I'm just saying that looking at it in totality, I think Ice Cube has the opportunity to do different things with Mike Epps that I don't see him having with Chris Tucker.
Okay, but here's the question. Are you fine with Cube and Epps being over Cosby and
I
Poitier?
am. I am.
You look like you're mulling it over.
Well, look, I don't want to relitigate, but I think the part of the problem with a piece of the action is that Bill Cosby is moving into 80s Bill Cosby mode, where he wants to not be as slick and kind of, which is really the energy between him and Sidney Poitier that works so well. Like, he's like a street Philly guy, basically. But now he's moving into the 80s and,
he's sanding his edges.
Right, he shaves and cuts his hair down, and now he's basically proto Cliff Huxtable. And you lose something.
Yeah.
So regardless of what happened, I think just time going on, you were going to lose that.
Okay.
Whereas right now, at 60 years old, I think Ice Cube and Mike Epps could do something interesting.
Right. All right.
All right.
So Cube and Mike Epps are number 3.
All right.
Number 2.
Number 2.
With 4 films. 4 huge films.
Okay.
That have grossed in total over $1 billion.
Oh, my goodness. Who's this?
Martin Lawrence and Will Smith.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh.
Stars of Bad Boys, Bad Boys 2, Bad Boys for Life, and Bad Boys Ride or Die.
Oh, yeah. I'm interested to see who you have above. Well, there are 2 people who haven't shown up that I'm wondering if you're going to have them above them, and then I got to wonder how I feel about that. But oh yeah, Martin Lawrence and Will Smith are gold.
It's solid.
Like I would say they're the gold standard. Like, I'm waiting to see what you have above them.
Okay, they are the gold standard, but are they because of how much money the films have made?
I think it is perfect chemistry.
Now, I have to say, I have not seen the last 2 Bad Boys.
Yeah.
So I don't.
I think it deepens it. Speaking of the people aging, like I think there's a self-awareness about Will Smith's Mike Lowry character that you get, especially in the 3rd one, but I think the 4th one as well, that I appreciate. I think they like each other. Yeah. Like you get the sense that Will Smith and Martin Lawrence like each other. And they've had similar career trajectories. So they are actual peers. Yeah, I actually wish they would make not Bad Boys movies. Like, I'd love to
I would be interested.
Like, I'd love them to see, we own a law firm, and something falls in our lap. In hilarity,
more of a straight comedy,
right?
As opposed to these action movies,
right.
Yeah, I would like to see that. I would be interested.
Yeah. So again, I'm curious who you have above them.
Well, above them, and there can only be one team. First of all, I lament that there's not a black woman comedy team.
Yeah,
that's a big lament, and there's not even. It was hard pressed for me to even just pick a one and done.
Yeah,
there hasn't even been like one of those. But at number 1, with 5 movies between them, all very, very successful movies. I have to give props where props are due to Marlon and Shawn Wayans.
Oh, of course.
Who have Don't Be a Menace to South Central, Scary Movie 2, White Chicks, and Little Man. Hey, look, you got to give props where props are due.
And then they had an entire television show.
And then they had their own show, the Wayans brothers. Like, look, they took their little piece of this a magnificent family, which is the Wayans, cut a slice of it for themselves, and then grew it all through their cult of personality of themselves. You can argue who is the more talented one or whatever, but at the end of the day, these are 2 real brothers, who have a good chemistry with one another, and it comes across on the screen. And what I also appreciated, the one thing I will appreciate in their movies, even if I'm not a huge fan of their films, is that their movies are usually not them trying to play the exact same characters just with different names.
True.
They're trying to do something different. Whether or not you argue whether or not they succeed or fail, but they're trying to do something different as far as the characters that they are portraying every time on screen. So I gotta give them props.
Come on, man. It seems like it's been a theme the past month or so. Yeah. I love the Wayans. So yeah, I'm not going to fight you about Sean and Marlon.
Yeah. So there's my top 5 black comedy teams.
Yeah, those are good teams.
All right.
Those are good teams.
Now, was there anyone do you feel was maybe left off?
I mean,
I saw in the chat that somebody, Ashy Feet was, what's up, Mo? He was talking about Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall. Eddie Murphy and Arsenio Hall, to my recollection, have only really appeared as a team in 2 films.
yeah.
And that was the Coming to America movies.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Because they're not a duo in Harlem Nights.
Right. So therefore, they don't qualify.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
So is there any other teams that you felt? Amos and Andy was a TV show.
No. And I don't know if it would be a comedy team appropriately enough as we're moving into it. You know, Derville Martin and Fred Williamson worked together 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, but they weren't.
But it wasn't really a comedy.
And they weren't a team.
No. I think they were a team. Like I'm pretty sure he's in both the Nigger Charlie movies. He's in.
I don't remember them being like a team in that.
I mean, maybe not a team. I mean, you know, he's his boy. It's stretching it. It's pushing.
Yeah, I
it.
think that's just
Yeah, but no, I think you hit him.
okay.
You know, I was waiting for Marlon and Sean to show up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, outside of we covered the black comedy teams. Do you have a favorite comedy team? Let's say that's not black.
I mean, look. You know, my favorite team of all time is actually Martin and Lewis.
Really?
Oh.
Okay.
Oh, that's actually the prism through which I look through I love those Martin Lewis movies.
Okay. Interesting.
It actually makes me sad that they broke up.
Well, it broke up the country. The country was sad. That was big news when they broke up.
Yeah, I love Martin Lewis. Look, man, I like them Bing Crosby, Bob Hope movies, like the Road 2 movies.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well,
You know who's your?
I'm not a fan of the Bob Hope, Bing Crosby movies.
Oh, they're fun.
In
They're boozy fun.
I remember liking Martin and Lewis as a kid. I can't watch them anymore.
Why?
They just don't do it for me.
Oh.
I would say I am a fan of Lauren Hardy.
Oh yeah.
I love Lauren Hardy.
It's old to me.
And in movies, in movies is Lauren Hardy. Then I can watch some good Marx Brothers. But my favorite comedy team of all time will always be Moe, Larry, and Curly, the Three Stooges. I got love for Shrimp, but Moe, Larry, and Curly, that's it.
All right.
That's my gold standard.
That's your gold standard.
All right.
All right.
Okay. George Cremona says that Denzel and Don Cheadle should get an honorable mention. That wasn't a comedy.
No.
And it was only one.
Yeah.
It was one. Now Mo is also pointing out, and I came close to choosing Kevin Hart and The Rock.
You know what? I despise Kevin Hart and The Rock together.
Well, I actually don't really
I think it is the opposite of funny
I don't like them either.
when the two of them are together.
I don't like them either.
I think it is lazy and hackneyed
Yes.
when the two of them are together.
Yes. Nor do I think either. I don't think The Rock is necessarily funny in those films.
Not only do I not think The Rock is funny, I think The Rock is one of those dudes that you can't make fun of.
That is very true.
And there's energy between the two of them where Kevin Hart acts like a dude who's been little his whole life and knows how to navigate insecure big dudes so he don't get his ass kicked.
Yeah.
And that energy comes off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where you can tell Kevin Hart knows that there's a line that he is never going to cross with The Rock.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
And when they write for the two of them, the jokes really always come down to The Rock
It's always
is a real big guy,
it's the same joke.
and Kevin Hart is a real little guy.
It's the exact same joke. Exact same joke. Speaking of the lament of black women as a comedy team, we can't go back in time and create a comedy team that was no longer there. And unfortunately, Tichina Arnold and
Tisha Campbell
are probably, unfortunately, at this point, aged out of being for films. They probably could still do a series, a streaming series, or something like that. Short of that, if you had a screwball comedy right now and you wanted to try and build a black woman comedy team, who you getting? Quinta Brunson?
I'm assuming you want me to skew a little younger.
Yeah, well, yeah, because we both would probably want to see Gabrielle Union, but she's already a little up there as well.
I am curious. No, because they cross paths on the Black Lady sketch show. I would love to see Quinta and Issa Rae do something. Just the two of them. Like I said, they work together in a couple of things on the Black Lady sketch show. Also, it didn't do that well. I enjoyed it a little bit. I feel like I'm ready for Marseille Martin to come back to the forefront, because I really enjoyed her and Issa Rae in Little.
Yeah, she was good in that. She was definitely good in that.
And Marseille Martin is actually funny.
She is.
Yeah.
She is. She was one of my favorite thing about Blackish.
Look.
So, what is the show you love? And I like the show too. I just can't think of the name. I'm trying to remember the actress.
Oh, and right, there's my girl, Gabrielle Dennis.
Yes, Gabrielle Dennis,
who is just hilarious.
But what's the show with the British?
Oh,
you know who I'm talking about.
Oh, I'm still trying to get Michaela Cole just here in America.
Yes, Michaela Cole.
Michaela Cole.
Cole.
It's like Michaela Cole and Sade. They're my two British loves that I feel like every time you breathe on them, they run away and hide.
Now, I would say Michaela Cole. I would take her, but instead of Issa Rae, I would cast her with Yvonne Orji.
See, you've backed me into a corner where I have to say out loud that I don't think Yvonne Orji is funny.
Yeah, but I think she's good, and give her a good script. I think she would be okay.
All right.
I mean, first of all, I think you take Michaela Cole.
I'll say,
and put her next to almost anybody.
Right. So let's give her some. I don't like you putting my Michaela Cole.
You don't like her.
I don't like that. I don't like. Like, if you're gonna use Michaela Cole, you're gonna have to use Issa Rae or Quinta Brunson. Or Gabrielle Dennis or somebody. Or Tisha Campbell or Tichina Arnold.
No. Here you go.
All right.
Michaela Cole.
And who?
Janelle Monáe.
Okay, that could be fun.
Yes.
I'll allow that. I will open my arms and allow Michaela Cole. I feel like Michaela Cole is asking me, well, who all is going to be there, Michaela Cole? Are her parents going to be there? What's her parents' phone number? Let me speak to her mom before you go over there.
All right. So there you go. All right.
My daughter, I think, is about to start Bubblegum this week. She's never watched it.
That's the show, Bubblegum.
Oh.
I remember the name.
Oh.
Yeah. That's a funny show.
Oh,
I just couldn't remember the name of it.
you got to put the subtitles on.
Oh yeah, yeah.
It's real
It's
British.
real British.
It's real British.
It's real British.
But yeah.
Yeah, most definitely.
All right.
All right. Well, that is the top 5. It is now time for the game.
Oh my God, are you singing again?
The Game of Kings. 6 degrees of derville Martin. 6 degrees of derville Martin, where I give Vincent 2 actors and he has 6 films or less to connect them to derville Martin. Vincent,
Yes.
keeping it in theme.
Okay.
These are 2 actors who appear in the film that we're going to be reviewing,
Okay.
Stir Crazy.
Okay.
So you cannot use Stir Crazy.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Got.
So in 6 films or less, connect derville Martin to
2.
George Stanford Brown.
Yeah. I got to tell you, Lynn, in full disclosure, I feel bad about this one because I looked up the cast members. And
Yeah, I knew you would.
And I never would have guessed this. So I'll do this and make. Well, all right. Let me just try and be interesting at least. Derville Martin is in 5 on the black hand side with Dick Anthony Williams. Dick Anthony Williams is in Mo Better Blues with Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
Wesley Snipes is in one scene in her film debut in Jungle Fever with Queen Latifah. And Queen Latifah is in House Party 2 with George Stanford Brown.
Very good.
Yeah.
Very good, Vincent.
He's not in a whole lot of movies.
I know. I mean, he was a TV guy.
Yeah, he was a TV guy. And I never would have, and I'd forgotten that he was like the professor in House Party 2.
Party 2, yeah.
So
Very good.
that one's not that impressive. All right, but go ahead. Who else we got?
All right, I mean,
All right.
I figure I know this is what you do. You kind of
Okay.
look at the movies. All right. So next, in 6 films or less, connect derville Martin to Craig T. Nelson. This is an easy one.
It is an easy one.
Now, it should take a certain.
No. It is an easy one. Like the easiest way to get to him is Action Jackson. But I'm not going to do Action Jackson because I'm going to use the opportunity.
That's not the easiest way.
I mean, is Derville Martin to? I mean, I guess not.
Okay, so you don't want to use Action Jackson? Fine. And now I'm going to give you another movie that you can't use.
What?
You can't use Incredibles 1 or 2.
I'm not using those because this film that we're doing tonight has something real weird in common with one of my favorite movies of all time. So I can't land on Stir Crazy, but what I can say is that Derville Martin is in The Final Come Down with Billy D. Williams. Billy D. Williams is in Bingo Long, or Billy D. Williams, as we were just talking about, in Lady Sings the Blues with Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor is in Stir Crazy with Jo Beth Williams. We're not stopping here, though. Because while we're waving at Craig T. Nelson,
Right.
when this movie wraps,
Yes.
Jo Beth Williams
And Craig T.
and Craig T. Nelson are in one of my favorite movies of all time, Poltergeist.
Yes.
How are both of them in this and they don't share a scene and then they're in one of the greatest movies ever made, which is Poltergeist?
They both had a friend that said, "Hey, y'all done with that shit? Come do a real movie."
Do you love Poltergeist like I love Poltergeist?
I don't know if I love it like you love Poltergeist, but I do love the movie. It's a very good movie. It is a very, very good, effective movie. A movie that I had trouble returning to because it got me a little bit.
I love how much, like, I love how it's such a snapshot of this moment where they are building all of these suburbs and they're building all of these developments. And I love how it subverts the haunted house. Like, haunted houses are supposed to be old, but this is new.
Yep.
I love how much it makes sense. You know my thing, like half of this stuff, especially with something like a haunted house, like, just leave the house. Like, go do something else. Why are we fighting in here? But no, it took their kid. And Jo Beth Williams and Craig T. Nelson are so good in this as parents who are scared shitless. But this thing has their kid.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. And I love how scary it is. Poltergeist is actually scary.
Oh, it is. That's what I said. I had trouble returning to that movie.
Yeah, Poltergeist is
I was
scary.
like, whoa.
Yeah.
Because I remember the first time I saw Poltergeist, because I didn't see it in the theater. So the first time I saw it was like, I think like HBO, something like that. But it was another story of watching a movie too late at night.
Oh, yeah.
In my basement.
Oh, my
with the lights out.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And nobody else up in the house. Yeah. And now I got to make it away upstairs. Yeah. And I'm like, yo, this is not cool, man.
Oh, my goodness.
This is not cool. And I didn't live in a suburb of Philadelphia, but I lived in a nice enough of a neighborhood that it looked poltergeistish.
Right. Like, you were like, I lived somewhere where a developer might have been sketchy.
Exactly, man.
Like, oh, man, I do love Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's how you get to Craig T. Nelson without going to Action Jackson.
Very good. Well done. All right. That is the Game of Kings.
Yes.
It is now time for us to turn our attention to our film that we will be reviewing tonight, and that is 1980's Stir Crazy, which is a comedy film directed by Sidney Poitier, written by Bruce J. Friedman, and produced by Hannah Weinstein, starring Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor as two unemployed friends who are given 125-year prison sentences after getting framed for a bank robbery. While in prison, they befriend other prison inmates. The film reunited Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor, who had appeared previously in the 1976 comedy Silver Streak. While this film was released to mixed reviews, it was a huge success, making $101 million off of a $10 million budget. And in fact, Richard Pryor with Stir Crazy became the first black actor to earn $1 million for a single film. And this was the first film directed by an African American that earned more than $100 million. So this is a historic piece of cinema that we will be reviewing tonight. With that being said, Vincent, what say you of Stir Crazy?
I think it is because of everything that you just said that I've been avoiding this, frankly. And it pains me to say that what I came away with this afternoon watching it, frankly, for the first time in almost 10 years. Like I said, I have been avoiding, and certainly since we've started this podcast, I've been avoiding it. I think this is a film that had many shortcomings as a film, and I don't think it aged that well for a variety of reasons. I think one reason is structural, which I'll start with, but then I think there is a deeper misstep that this film makes that, unfortunately, because it was such a huge hit, the follow-up films with Gene Wilder and Richard Pryor also make the first one structurally. You and I were talking a bit before we started. This was written by Bruce J. Friedman, who is a novelist and well-regarded screenwriter.
Yes,
and I was shocked at this screenplay, knowing some of the work that he did, but just doing a cursory glance at some of the work that is also attributed to him. He had additional screenwriters. Things were written by other writers based on his story, so on and so forth. And I think as a screenplay, the first weakness of this film is that it's all over the place. Like, this film doesn't like for all of the advertising about it being about these two men in prison, and then there's even the advertising that you look at. It's the two actors in chicken suits. The film takes an extraordinarily long time
to get there,
to get to what the movie's about. Movies is about 150 minutes. Like, it's right under 2 hours. The first 15 minutes of the film is, as you said, Gene Wilder plays this character, Skip, who is a screenwriter, and Richard Pryor plays a character, Harry, who is an aspiring actor, and both of them work in New York City. Harry is a waiter. Skip is a store detective.
Yes.
And for 15 minutes, you see them in New York, and they kind of get into misadventures and hijinks, and you have them contrasted, Gene Wilder's character in particular, against this kind of grimy, really 70s New York. I know it comes out in 1980, but this is very much a grimy 70s New York. And not knowing the plot, you think, okay, well, this is about these two aspiring creatives
in New York.
And certainly this is something that can work. But then 15 minutes in, they say, well, we're going to leave New York.
It's a road trip.
And we're going to go on a road trip. And you think for a moment, okay, well, it's going to be a road trip. But the road trip is not a scene, not a montage. It's almost a transition. Like, you see the two of them in a van, and you assume that more is going to be made of this road trip, but then the road trip is over. They have to get a little side job, and this is when the jail comes in. There is a case of mistaken identity. They are falsely accused of robbing a bank, and now they go to jail first, and you get a kind of a stock jail scene where we're
the holding cell.
We're two unassuming guys, and we're in a holding cell
out of our element,
and this is a scene that has gone on to become iconic.
Yes, because it's played up on all of the commercials.
Oh, that's trailer. Right. We bad, like it's the one we all know. And then they end up in prison. But by the time they land in the prison, that is going to be the setting for the rest of the film. We're now a half hour into the film. So then you think, okay, well, this is about them having to navigate prison. But then 15 minutes after that, you find out there's a prison rodeo. And lo and behold, Gene Wilder's character, Skip, is a bit of a savant
when it comes to being a
cowboy and a bull rider. And there's a contest between two prisons and a prison rodeo, and now Gene Wilder's Skip is going to be the secret weapon. So now 45 minutes into an hour and 50-minute film, okay, well, maybe this is the plot. It's going to be about the rodeo. Then another 10, 15 minutes passes, and the characters decide that they're going to use the rodeo to escape. So now it's an hour in. Okay, well, maybe this is about them escaping from prison. It's now turned into basically a heist. And even when it lands there, as someone who has watched heist films, someone who has watched prison escape films, okay, well now you're going to have this elaborate plan that's laid out, and there's going to be a complication, and then there'll be a reversal where you figure out that the complication wasn't really there. Like, you've seen this before, but then there are all these detours there, so that just on the level of plot and story, the film never gels into something cohesive. And that is something that is a problem, obviously. But that is something that I think could be handled as the audience if you are watching two performers who, A, are good at what they're doing, but more importantly, B, and to reference your top 5, have a relationship that you enjoy spending time with them. Wesley Snipes, Woody Harrelson, for my money, I could have watched Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson for 5 more movies. I just really like them together.
Yes.
I kind of alluded to this last week when we talked about Blazing Saddles, where I said for all of the hijinks and the this and the that, my favorite part of the movie is Cleavon Little and Gene Wilder. Just enjoying each other's company, these two men. And I never understood for one moment in this film why these characters were friends. I never got the connection.
What was the connection that held them
together? And I think it is because of something that you get with both of these actors, the decisions that the script makes, and then they follow up. We talked about Gene Wilder a little bit last week. We just mentioned Blazing Saddles. I said it before, I'll say it again. Gene Wilder is one of my favorite comedic actors of all time. He's in 3 of my favorite movies of all time: Young Frankenstein, Willy Wonka, and last week's Blazing Saddles. And the thing that I love about this Gene Wilder is that he has a bit of mischief. There's a bit of mischief in what he does.
In all of those films.
In all of those films. But there's also perhaps a heart of gold. But there's also a bit of menace. And you don't really know from moment to moment. And it's that uncertainty that I think makes him so magical in these 3 films. But mischief in everything I just said implies intelligence. And someone made the decision, I don't know if it's Gene Wilder, I don't know if the script kind of led him this way, that this character, Skip, is this naive man-child. Just sort of, he's able to dance between the raindrops by this kind of childlike charm. But it becomes very grating.
Oh, very quickly.
To offset that, Richard Pryor finds himself in the role where he has to be overly incredulous and respond to every childlike decision that Gene Wilder makes. And unfortunately, because of the optics and because of just the racial dynamic, this incredulous response oftentimes looks at best like he's mugging. At other times, it's a little cringy. Like Richard Pryor spends a lot of time in this movie scared, blubbering. I can't believe this is going on. We don't talk about it. Speaking of the Wayans brothers, I thought do you remember maybe the first season of In Living Color? They had a skit where Damon Wayans was playing Richard Pryor, and he was in a new movie, and it was called Richard Pryor is Scared of Everything. And it was so mean and so cutting, but it was accurate when you look at Richard Pryor at this speed.
Mm-hmm.
And Gene Wilder just sort of, again, flitting around, and Richard Pryor kind of mugging.
Mm-hmm.
It just, it doesn't hold together.
No, not at all.
So that I was really sad by the time it went off.
Yeah.
About how I felt about it.
I know. And it like you said, it's one of those films like I remember kind of liking it because when I watched it, liking the idea of those two together, remembering it from Silver Streak. But actually what I'm remembering now as I'm watching it, you talked about the holding cell scene that's become iconic because it's played on all the trailers. Like, yeah, we bad, all that type of stuff. They already did that joke.
Mm-hmm.
They did that joke in Silver Streak where Gene Wilder puts on blackface and is basically pretending to be like I think like a Jamaican,
mm-hmm.
right? So they've already done that joke, right?
Right. I think Dan Aykroyd was a Jamaican.
Okay, right. He was just being a black person. He's just being a black person. So they've already done it, and now they're doing it without the blackface, but it's very cringeworthy, like you said, and what I thought was the case, and doing research found out, a lot of their scenes together felt like they were improvising.
Mm-hmm.
And my research has showed that they were improvising. And my research has also shown that Richard Pryor was not at the top of his powers in this movie. Because Richard Pryor, because this was at around the height of his in and out of drug phase and huge becoming like a big cocaine head,
mm-hmm.
Was getting high every night,
mm-hmm.
and showing up to the set late,
mm-hmm.
almost every day. So that stands to reason that one, why they're improvising, because he probably don't know his lines. Gene Wilder is going to give his dude a solid. All right, well, we know where we got to go in this scene, so we're going to go somewhere. But Richard Pryor, not at the top of his game, probably like hungover, got a little buzz on, mad tired, has only one speed to go to, which is just mugging, blubbering. I ain't got no words to say. I can't really bounce off of you because I'm not in my right mind.
Mm-hmm.
Gene Wilder, to your point, he's not acting because Gene Wilder, you said it, he's one of your favorite comedic actors.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a comedian. Mm-hmm. So when he's asked to kind of like riff and be funny, he could maybe riff a little bit, but you got to be giving him something back. Mm-hmm. If he's got nothing to bounce off of, then he's out there on an island and he's left with, this curly haired like Muppet,
right.
like human Muppet looking there who doesn't have anybody to work his mouth. So the two of them, that whatever magic that they had in Silver Streak, and mind you, as much as people remember Silver Streak, they're actually not together that much. Like
right.
most of that movie is not, Richard Pryor is not there. And this film, despite Richard Pryor being there from the beginning, has a lot of the vibe of a Gene Wilder movie mm-hmm. that Richard Pryor is stuck into, mm-hmm. So they don't have a lot to bounce off of. Then in and around them, the script, like you said, it's not funny. It's disjointed all over the place. Sidney Poitier, a noted director, but no one's going to say he's like an auteur when it comes to directing. He's basically by the numbers directing,
sure.
And he's by the numbers here. But if you don't have much of a script and you've got your two leading men are not at the height of their powers, Sidney Poitier ain't got a whole lot to work with.
No.
You know, so I can't fault him, but so much he's doing whatever he can. You know, there's stories about like, yeah, I really wanted to shoot in the prison, and I really wanted to tell this story about the people overcoming prison life and all this type of stuff. Yeah, that's all good talk about what you want to happen in this movie. Ain't none of it on the screen.
No, it is
you know?
not.
George Stanford Brown, an actor of note, is asked to play this caricature in this film that was, I think, was nominated for a Razzie Award in 1980. And I don't think that necessarily is warranted. I don't think he's great.
I'm going to do you one better. I like him better than anybody in the movie.
I just about to say, I think he actually is the best actor in this movie, because while he is playing a homosexual character, he's not crazy over the top with it.
It's not over the,
Not at all. It's not over the top at all. It's very human. It's at the height of his intelligence in every scene.
Considering that I think that has become part of the lore of this film. George Stanford Brown plays this over. Like, he was amazingly low-key to me.
Yes, I thought so as well. I thought he was actually the best thing in this movie.
The best line delivery in the whole movie. He puts his hand on Richard Pryor's hand. Richard Pryor slaps his hand. And then, because he had been talking previously, by the way, why did you kill your stepfather? And George Stanford Brown says, he made fun of the fur that I bought, and he slapped my hand. And then Richard Pryor mugs and puts his hand back on him. But I was more interested in his character.
Yes.
Than anyone else in the entire film.
When his character, spoiler alert, gets away at the end of the movie, I said, take me with you.
Look, when he puts on the women's clothing, pulls it off. Because Richard Pryor looks ridiculous in the goatee and everything. He's wearing his outfit, and then when he kisses Richard Pryor on the lips and then keeps it moving, I said, this is actually a transgressive little act. I like this character a little bit.
Yes, and when he does put on the women's clothing and you say pull it off, he pulls it off, but he doesn't mug. He doesn't go over the top with it.
It is not a whole lot of sachet and affectation.
Which is why when he kisses Richard Pryor at the end, Richard Pryor kisses him because it feels natural.
Right.
It feels real.
Right.
It's the most authentic, action to happen this entire stupid ass movie.
Right. The problem with this character is that it's 1980.
Exactly.
And they're never going to do anything interesting with this character for real.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's it is a film that I was scared to return to because, yes, I have been hard about Richard Pryor's acting. But this is why. This is why. Now, I'm not saying that the script gave him a lot to work with.
And it doesn't.
It doesn't. But he doesn't do anything with what he has.
I'm telling you, again, I talked about Richard Pryor's humanism in some of his roles. But you think about Richard Pryor in that one scene in Uptown Saturday Night.
Okay.
You think about Richard Pryor in Lady Sings the Blues to a certain extent. You think about Richard Pryor in
You gonna go Bingo Long?
Bingo Long to a certain extent, but I'm not headed that way. But I think Bingo Long fits into what I'm about to say. But then Richard Pryor in how did I just forget the Pimp movie's name?
The Pimp?
With Goldie.
Oh,
The Mac.
The Mac, yeah.
Richard Pryor, young Richard Pryor, where he's kind of scruffy and kind of street, like street hustler mode Richard Pryor. Street hustler mode Richard Pryor, and again, this mischief Gene Wilder character. I think if these two characters are operating at the same speed, I think if these two characters are instead of it being an odd couple, make them peers. Again, Blazing Saddles. The thing about Cleavon Little, Gene Wilder, they are peers. Eddie Murphy, Dan Aykroyd in Trading Places, where regardless of their socioeconomic backgrounds, both of them are hustlers. And by the time they get together, they're hustlers. Wesley Snipes and Woody Harrelson in White Men Can't Jump. I think if they had made them peers and made them characters that they had been before, like let them work at speeds that they had worked before, maybe you could have had something.
The problem is that those two men have never met. Gene Wilder has never met Richard Pryor at that speed, because I would contend that he's not really at that speed at Silver Streak.
I agree.
And then once he becomes a leading man with Which Way Is Up, he never really returns to that.
I agree. I agree. And I think Gene Wilder, you know, I don't like to talk about people's personal lives, but I do think after Gilda Radner died, Gene Wilder lost a little bit of that mischief.
Yeah, but all of this is before that. All of this is before Gilda died. She didn't die till the 90s.
She wasn't alive till the 90s.
I'm pretty sure she lived into the 90s. Gilda Radner, listen.
What year did Gilda Radner die? This is why I'm talking about people's personal life.
I'm about to look
because I'm ascribing biographical stuff to there.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Hold up, Gilda. I know you're telling me, fans. Hold on. Okay, but she died in 1989.
Okay.
She died in 1989. So this is all before that.
Yeah. I think there's a real shift in.
Now the last two movies,
sure.
Those are in the 90s. Those are
I feel like there's a real shift in. Pull up Gene Wilder's filmography, because I feel there's a shift where he becomes this character, this kind of man-child.
Oh, I believe that. Yeah, most certainly. Gene Wilder.
So when's that happen?
Let's see if we can mark that for Mr. Wilder as we look into his filmography.
So of my three Wilder films, Willy Wonka is probably the last of those three.
That's 71.
No, so Blazing Saddles is after that.
That's 74.
All right, what's he make after Blazing Saddles?
After that in 70. Well, after that. Well, let's go after Young Frankenstein, because that's also 74.
Okay.
So in 75, he makes The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother.
Oh, and he's goofy in that.
Okay, I don't think I've seen that.
Yeah.
He then does Silver Streak. He does in 1977 The World's Greatest Lover, which I think is where he starts to kind of man-child, if I remember that movie a little bit. Then he does The Frisco Kid in 79.
Yeah.
Stir Crazy and Sunday Lovers in 80. Hanky Panky in 1982, which was actually supposed to be the follow-up to Stir Crazy with him and Richard Pryor. Richard Pryor dropped out, and the script got rewritten for Gilda. Then he does The Woman in Red, which I contend is maybe his last really big movie. I seem to remember people liking that movie.
Well, he's the man-child in The Woman in Red, because he spends a whole movie trying to. Well, it's right there in the title.
And then he returns with Gilda Radner in Haunted Honeymoon in 1986. And then
you don't even have to.
And then after that is See No Evil, Hear No Evil.
Yeah. So hell, I'm saying 74. Like everything you said after 74 is not the Gene Wilder I love.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like he cuts down that Jufro.
That's what I'm saying.
And
like
it's just sort of
those two iterations of those actors that you like, that you really wanted to see.
They're never going to meet.
They never met. They absolutely never met.
So then it becomes.
So why did people resonate with them?
You know, I think as Americans, we like to see black people and white people getting along. I don't know who else, like who else is making buddy films at this moment?
I don't know. I don't. Are there even really buddy films being made?
I mean, you know, the
70s.
You know, it's so weird because 48 Hours is 2 years after this.
2 years. This is 1980.
Yeah, 48 Hours I think is 82.
Yeah. Because then Eddie Murphy comes and steals everybody's lunch.
Right. And then Lethal Weapon is like 85, 86. So in a lot of ways, I think they got in early with this black-white pairing. You know, we're moving into the Reagan 80s.
Yeah.
I think people just liked this visual. And
probably like the idea of, like you, we like the idea of Gene Wilder.
Richard Pryor is a national treasure
at that moment, you know, somebody you're rooting for.
And you know, as we can attest, if you're a teenager, this was hilarious.
Hey, it was the third highest grossing film of the year.
Yeah.
You know, so it worked.
Right.
For people. It just doesn't work. It just doesn't hold up.
It just doesn't hold up. And it doesn't feel as timeless as something
not at all
that came out 6 years before this.
I know. Blazing Saddles.
Right.
Exactly.
Right, which feels damn near cutting edge.
So which then begs the question, would you recommend that people watch Stir Crazy?
I'll answer your question with a question.
Okay.
If you love black film, which we assume all the missionaries love black film like we love black film, do you have to watch Stir Crazy? Like, is Stir Crazy important enough that you have to be aware of it?
The survey says he's not getting off that easy.
I mean, even in our conversation tonight, I'm realizing that this is the connective tissue between the 70s movies and Eddie Murphy. I mean, hell, even for that, I think I might have to say yes. Like, you gotta watch it.
Okay.
Like, if you've never seen it, you gotta watch it. If you've seen it already, there's no reason to watch it again.
Okay. So you're recommending Stir Crazy?
I think I am.
All right.
I think I am, for research purposes.
Okay. So to do a study.
Or just, you know, again, I think the thing I love the most about this podcast is I think all of us, me and you and us, are all kind of on this journey. Like, we're in this beautiful, never-ending class where we're watching these texts and we're talking with one another. And there are some things that I think are essential parts of the conversation. And when you think about Richard Pryor's filmography, you cannot deny his work with Gene Wilder. I don't think I'm saying anything controversial that of the 4 films that they made together, this is the best one. Like, I like this more than Silver Streak, and I certainly like it better than the follow-up to this. So kind of by default, it's the best one. Like, I know there's a lot of equivocating and moving things around, but you see what I'm saying? So yeah, I am. So you can say no, and we can have a split decision.
Yes.
All right.
So no.
All right.
Well, no. I will. I will start with a caveat. Unless you are Michael Lockett, who is doing watching these films in real time with us, while also traveling back in time to watch some of our older reviews and watching those films, so that he can craft these beautiful, eloquent emails that demonstrate the way emails should be presented by Michaels of all sorts. Unless you are our Michael, who, yes, should watch Stir Crazy so that we can hear from you in the thoughtful way that you present yourself to us. No one else needs to watch Stir Crazy.
Ever. Like you haven't seen Stir Crazy?
I'll go one better.
We bad.
I'll go one better for you, folks. Unless you are Michael Lockett and taking this journey with us, or you are one of the other missionaries taking the journey with us and watching the movies in real time along with us, which means that you too will be, like Vincent and I, somewhere down the line, watching See No Evil, Hear No Evil, and Another You, the last two films in the Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor filmography. Unless you are those missionaries, you don't ever need to watch any Gene Wilder, Richard Pryor movie. Because I contend, while they may be in your memory for those who lived through those times, oh, this cherished comedy team, they in fact were not. They were just whispers of what each of them once was when they got together, and there is nothing worthwhile to return to on the screen. This movie was not good. It is not good, and you are missing nothing. You are not missing anything that is pure Richard Pryor. You are not missing anything that is pure Gene Wilder. I take nothing away from those two gentlemen, except to say that together, they actually do not bring out the best in each other. They only elevate or show off the worst in each other when they come together. And that is my viewpoint. You do not have to watch Stir Crazy. Stay away, please.
Well, there you go.
But that's what I say.
Look.
And that is our review of Stir Crazy.
Do we take the sacred cows and we make holy steaks?
That's what we do. Before we tell you what we're going to be reviewing next week, I invite you to send all of your hate mail. Bring it in. Bring it in. I can take it. I love it so. Just make sure it's eloquently written and make sure that your last name is not Sykes. You can send us an email at micheauxmission@gmail.com. That's micheauxmission@gmail.com. You can also find us on all the social media, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, in our Facebook group, or even on Threads. We're going to be up on Threads at Micheaux Mission. The Micheaux Mission is also a proud member of The Podglomerate. The Podglomerate, they make podcast works such as ours, which can be found on all podcast platforms. Apple Podcasts, Spotify. If they've got podcasts, you can find us. Even on YouTube, where you are watching us as we stream live. And I invite you to, if you haven't already, to subscribe and hit the bell so you can be notified when we go live and when we put up new videos. And you can also tell a friend about the show so that we can build up all of our subscribers on our fledgling YouTube channel. I have friends in my life, Vincent, I don't know about you, but they look at me and they say, "Oh man, I love your show, man. Why ain't you got more viewers?" I'm like, because we working, man. We just trying to do it. So get us more viewers so I can get some of my friends off my back, please. All right.
Hopefully they're out in the streets recruiting people.
Well, some of them are, to be fair. Some of them are. They are bringing people. They are bringing in missionaries every day, and I thank each and every one of you.
The doors of the church are open.
That's right. Next week on the final show of 2024, here on the Micheaux Mission, Vincent and I will be sitting down to review a film that is a fairly recent film, just came out in 2023, from starring Lakeith Stanfield, R.G. Seiler, Anna Diop. Oh, that's a good one for Micheaux Cola. Anna Diop.
Is Anna Diop funny?
Okay. Well, maybe not.
You just picking fine brown. You just you say, well, Michaela Cole is tall, fine, and brown. Anna Diop is tall, fine, and brown. Maybe we should just put them together and see what happens. Just see what happens. We'll call it Cocoa Butter Adventure.
Next week,
You said Anna Diop. She's never cracked a joke on screen ever.
she smiled.
She just real fun.
She was Starfire.
Yeah, right. Who was known for making jokes.
She had thigh-high boots. I'm a sucker for thigh-high boots. Anyway, all right. Next week on the Micheaux Mission is not thigh-high boots. We're going to be watching The Book of Clarence next week here on the Micheaux Mission. Until then, he's Vincent, I'm Len, and in parting, we say,
We'll see you when it's time to meet again.